On February 28, 2026, the most important 21 miles of ocean on Earth closed. The Strait of Hormuz, a corridor so narrow you could drive across it in 20 minutes, and yet through it flows 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil the world consumes, every single day. When U.S. and Israeli forces struck Iran, Tehran didn't send tanks, they didn't fire missiles at cities. They did something far more devastating. They told the world nothing moves through here anymore, and they meant it. 21 missile attacks on merchant ships in 2 weeks, naval mines in the Channel, oil prices surging past $100, 15 million barrels per day stranded. Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar's LNG, Bahrain, locked inside the Persian Gulf with no way out. The global economy running on fumes and a handful of aging pipelines built for a different war. But here's what nobody is talking about. There is a plan. A $100 billion gamble to rewire the entire energy map of the Middle East, to make the Strait of Hormuz optional. The question is, can infrastructure move faster than geopolitics, and what happens to the world if it can't? The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran to the north and Oman to the south. At its narrowest point, just 21 miles wide. But those 21 miles handled 20 million barrels per day. That's about 20% of all petroleum the world consumes. 2 inbound lanes, 2 outbound lanes, a narrow buffer in between. Tankers as long as skyscrapers navigating a corridor where a single disruption can stop everything. Saudi Arabia sends more than 5 million barrels through it every day. Then Iraq, the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar. China gets a third of its oil through this route. India depends on it for the majority of its crude. Japan and South Korea almost entirely. Europe loses a significant share of its natural gas if this closes, and Qatar's LNG, there is no alternative route. When Iran mined this waterway in early March 2026, it wasn't a traditional military move. It was a direct economic strike on the modern world. This isn't the first time the world feared losing the strait, but the backup systems were never built for a full shutdown. In 1981, during the Iran-Iraq War, Saudi Arabia built a bypass, the Petra Line, a 1,200-kilometer pipeline stretching from the Gulf to the Red Sea. Today, it can move about 7 million barrels per day, but normal flow through Hormuz is 20 million. The gap is massive, and even at full capacity, the Red Sea port becomes the bottleneck. Then there's the UAE pipeline. Opened in 2012, it bypasses the strait entirely, but it can only carry about 1.5 million barrels per day. Iraq has a northern route into Turkey, but political disputes and sabotage have kept it mostly inactive. Together, all alternatives combined can move about 5 million barrels per day, against 20 million that normally flows through Hormuz. That leaves 15 million barrels every single day with nowhere to go. By mid-March 2026, the situation escalated fast. More than 20 ships were attacked. Insurance costs made shipping through the strait nearly impossible. Over 150 tankers were left waiting outside. Producers kept pumping oil, but they had nowhere to send it. Prices surged. European gas prices doubled in days. For Asia, the risk was even bigger. China, India, Japan, and South Korea rely heavily on this route. They have reserves, but not enough for a long disruption. Factories slow down, shipping costs rise, supply chains begin to break. The system was never designed for a shutdown lasting months. So why hasn't the world replaced the strait? Because the solution is expensive, very expensive. To fully bypass Hormuz would cost between $80 and $150 billion. New pipelines, new ports, new energy corridors across multiple countries. Iraq is pushing a pipeline to Jordan's Red Sea port, a direct route that avoids the Gulf entirely. Saudi Arabia is planning to expand its Red Sea terminals, increasing capacity to handle much more oil. The UAE is looking at new infrastructure on the Gulf of Oman. And there's another layer: data.
Countries in the region are building overland fiber routes to Europe because even digital infrastructure faces similar risks. The challenge is time. These projects take years, sometimes decades, and many have been delayed for political reasons again and again. The same divisions that caused the problem are slowing down the solution. Here's the reality. Energy infrastructure takes years to build, but it can be disrupted in days. In the short term, existing pipelines help. Saudi Arabia pushes its system to the limit. The UAE maximizes its capacity. Strategic reserves are used. Prices remain high. But if the disruption continues, the pressure builds. Asia may need to ration energy. Industries could slow or stop. Supply chains could break again. The plan to replace the strait exists. The engineering is possible, but politics moves slower than crisis. The world built its energy system around a single choke point, and now it's facing the cost of that decision. Maybe this crisis forces change. Maybe it finally pushes countries to act. Or maybe things return to normal, and the risk is ignored once again. The strait is just 21 miles wide, but the impact of losing it stretches across the entire world.